Hello everybody, it's Milo here. We're looking at the Noob Cube today, color by color. If you don't know what a cube is, check out Tolarian Community College's What is a Cube video. And if you don't know what this Noob Cube project is, check out my Introduction to Noob Cube video. Both of the links to those will be in the description of this video. Also, I wanted to mention that these color by color cube videos are going to take over this week. I want to do one of these every other day, so it's going to replace my usual Wednesday, Sunday video, but the Wednesday, Sunday schedule will be back in full force after the Noob Cube color by color. Alright, so let's get to it. The first color that I want to look at is blue, as you can red. This magnificent red color. One of the most important things with red in a cube, if you want to stick to what red is known for, is you want to play aggro or sly. You want a lot of cheap creatures and burn spells. That's only if you want to do what red is kind of known for being able to do. So in this cube, it's also beneficial for our purposes because a lot of aggressive red strategies don't cost a lot of money to put into the cube, and they're actually quite good, and people really enjoy playing them. So red is kind of an easier color to deal with, and I'll show you what I have in the cube so far. Spike Shot Elder is probably one of the better ones. It's 1 red, 1/1, and then you can pay 1 and 2 red and have it deal damage equal to his power to target creature or player. So if you have like a Bone Splitter or just something that pumps its power, it starts dealing even more damage, and you can activate this ability multiple times in a turn. Lightning Berserker is great. It's a new red 1-drop. It has dash, so you could kind of get in there, and if your opponent doesn't have any creatures, they're tapped out, you could just dash him in, lightning bolt him, or sorry, it's basically like a fireball or a disintegrate right at your opponent's face, and then you get to do it again next turn because dash lets you put it back in your hand. Fire Drinker Satyr is like Jackal Pup. So whenever it takes damage, it deals the same amount of damage to you. But Fire Drinker Satyr is strictly better in that you can pay 1 and a red, and it gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and deals a damage to you. Some people who are maybe newer to Cube or newer to Magic might say, why do I want this? Why do I want to be to deal damage to myself? That's ridiculous. Well, the thing is that red doesn't get a lot of 1-drops, or didn't until recently, because red is such an aggressive color. A creature that has 2 power and only costs 1 needs a bit of a drawback in red, or else it would be maybe a little bit too much, maybe too overwhelming for other strategies. So next up is Monastery Suspir. It's another new one from Kanza Tarkir. 1/2 haste, prowess for 1. I think it's quite good. There is some controversy around this card. Some people say you don't have enough instants or sorceries to make it a reliable 2/3, but you know what? I think that's okay. Even if it's a 2/3 just part of the time, I think it's still good enough. Frenzied Goblin, 1 red, 1/1. Whenever it attacks, you can pay a red. If you do, target creature can't block this turn. Helps you get through with your team. Now we're going to take a look at the 2-drops in red. The 2-drops, I have quite a few of them, and I do want to cut it down eventually, but 2-drops is definitely better than 3 or 4 drops for an aggressive strategy, so here they are. We have Valley Dasher, 2/2 for 2, haste, and it has to attack each turn of Fable. That's that drawback that we were seeing earlier. We have a Warname Aspirant. It's 1 and a red for a 2/1 with Raid. So when it enters the battlefield, it gets a +1/+1 counter if you attacked with a creature this turn, and it can't be blocked by creatures with power 1 or less, so walls can't block it. A lot of token creatures won't be able to block it. We have Mardu Scout. It's a favorite card right now in Limited, I think. Dash for 1 and a red, 3/1. We have a Torch Fiend. It's just some artifact removal. There's always going to be interesting artifacts in Cube, so you do want each color to kind of have an out to it, or as many colors as possible to have an out to artifacts. Mog War Marshal, it's a 1/1 for 2 and has Echo. So what Echo means is that the turn it enters play on your side of the board, you need to pay Echo the following upkeep, or you have to sacrifice it. But when it comes into play, or when it goes to the graveyard, so when it dies, put a 1/1 red goblin token creature into play. So you could let it die and you'd still get your 2 1/1s. One of the great things about it is you could play it, get a 1/1 token creature, and you could have no intention at all of paying the Echo the next turn, but you have like a chump blocker the turn you play it. So your opponent will just know that you're going to block with Mogg War Marshal 100% of the time if they attack. Colligan Aspirant. So this is 1 red, 2/1. Whenever it becomes blocked by a creature, it deals 1 damage to that creature. So it deals 1 damage to that creature before combat damage is dealt. So if the creature dies, it never deals combat damage. Sting Scourger is a card that I love from my old cube. It's another goblin with Echo. A 2/2 for 2. When it comes into play, it bounces a creature an opponent controls. So it's like Mana War for 2, except the Echo is 4. So the Echo is actually bigger than the casting cost of the Sting Scourger. We also have a Borderland Marauder. It's a 1/2 for 2, but when it attacks, it gets +2/+0. So it's basically a 3/2 for 2. Because you're not really blocking that much in these strategies. This is a Morph Horde Ambusher. Whenever it blocks, it deals 1 damage to you. But again, we're not going to be blocking that often. And when it's flipped, target creature can't block this turn. So it's kind of an ongoing strategy for red in this cube, making creatures unable to block, as you can see with Goblin Shortcutter. It's a 2/1 for 2. When it enters the battlefield, target creature can't block. We also have a Generator Servant, because it's kind of an interesting card. It's M15. It was the first time it was printed. It's 1 red, 2/1, and then you can tap and sack it to add 2 mana to your mana pool. If that mana is spent on a creature spell, that creature gains haste until end of turn. And then another card that's in like everybody's cube. It's Kelvin Marauders. It's 3/3 for 2. When it comes into play or leaves play, it deals a damage to a target player and has Vanishing 2. So it's only going to ever be able to attack for 1 turn. And it connects for 3 once. That's 5 damage total for 2 mana. Like, the damage per mana spent is quite good. All right, we're going to take a look at the 3 drops now. So Skirk Marauder, you can see it says 1 red, and I'm calling it a 3 drop because it has Morph, and you would never ever play it as a 2. When it's turned face up, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. That's the reason why you would play it. And we have a Bloodfire Expert. I know we saw Morph earlier on, and I just forgot to put it in the 3 drops. Bloodfire Expert, 3/1 Prowess for 3. This is one of those cards that probably shouldn't be in the cube. It's probably going to get cut. However, it's just okay as a 3-mana 3/1. It's fine right now as a placeholder until we find something better. Squee Goblin Nabob Coffee. He's 2 red for a 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Squee is in your graveyard, you can return it to your hand. That can be very useful if you have tricks that make you like one of the easiest tricks with this guy right off the bat, off the top of my head. It's an old school one, but Merfolk Looter. So Merfolk Looter is 1 in a blue, 1/1. You tap it to draw a card, discard a card, or any card that lets you draw a card, discard a card. Always discard Squee. Next turn, return Squee. Draw your card for turn, activate that again, draw another card, discard Squee, rinse and repeat. We also have a Get To Slinger. It's a 2/2 for 2 red, and when it enters the battlefield, deals 2 damage to target creature or player, and it has Echo. But when it enters the battlefield, it gets the job done, so sometimes you don't even need to pay that Echo. Chandra's Phoenix is 1 and 2 red, 2/2 flying haste, and whenever an opponent is dealt damage by a red instant or sorcery you control, or by a red planeswalker that doesn't exist in this cube yet, return Chandra's Phoenix from your graveyard to your hand. We also have a mythic Prophetic Flamespeaker. It's a card that I love. And if you watch the Cube Championships from last year, it was a very interesting card in the finals. It's a 1/3 double strike trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library, and you can play it this turn. We also have a classic Ball Lightning. This is from the Beatdown set. It's triple red, 6/1 trample haste, and at the end of turn you have to sacrifice it. So it's just one shot Ball Lightning. Looking at 4 drops now, we have the Fell Hyde Spirit Binder. I played this in Limited in Born of the Gods, and I really liked it, but never really had a spot in my actual cube, just because for 3 and a red at 3/4, red 4 drops were already ridiculous. This just didn't have a place. But here in this budget cube, I think that it might be really good. Whenever it becomes untapped, you can pay 1 in a red. If you do, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of another target creature, except it's an enchantment in addition to other types. It gains haste and exile it at the beginning of the next end step. So there's a lot of enters the battlefield cards, especially that we've seen just in red, that do things when they enter the battlefield. So being able to copy one of those cards constantly is actually pretty good. Atarka Ifrit. When I saw this card at Common in Dragons of Tarkir, I was very surprised. So it's a morph, and it flips for 2 and a red, and when it flips, it's going to be a 6/2 because it has Mega Morph. And when it's turned face up, it deals a damage to target creature or player. It actually reminds me of a lot of Blistering Firecat, except you don't have to sacrifice it at the end of the turn. Goblin Heel Cutter. So this is dash 2 and a red for 3/2, and when it attacks target creature, can't block this turn. If you play Limited currently in Dragons of Tarkir Fate Reforged, I'm sure that this is a huge role player in a lot of decks. Classic card, another one, Flametongue Kavu. It's one of those cards that if I'm playing cube and this card isn't in the cube, I'm a little bit like, why am I even playing this cube? It's 3 and a red, 4/2. When it enters the battlefield, deals 4 damage to target creature. It doesn't say opponent's creature, and it doesn't say may. So keep in mind, if you run this out and there's no other creatures in play, Flametongue Kavu kills itself. And we have Avalanche Riders, another classic card that I love. 3 and a red, 2/2 haste and echo for the same as his casting cost. And when he enters the battlefield, destroy target land. We also have a Fanatic of Mogus. I think that this was kind of an underrated card in standard Return to Ravnica Theros blocks. When it enters the battlefield, it deals damage to each opponent equal to your devotion to red. So with something like Boros Reckoner, this ends up dealing a lot of damage. And for 5, we have a Tangarth, Talrum Hero. You know what? Kind of just wanted to put Tangarth, the Minotaur legend, in the cube. No other reason. Conquering Manticore for 6. So Conquering Manticore is 5/5 flying for 6, and when it enters the battlefield, you active treason. So you gain control of a creature, untap it, it gains haste until end of turn. And then we have a Chroma, Angel of Fury, because I wanted some big red thing in the cube, and she's like a big red thing. 2 non-creature spells. We have Faithless Looting. It's 1 red, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, flashback 2 in a red. It helps you in the late game. If you're drawing too many lands, you can start ditching them. It helps you with card selection. We also have a Collateral Damage. 1 red instant. You have to sack a creature when it comes into play, which is perfect with all the Echo guys that you don't want to pay Echo for. And then it deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Lightning Bolt. So this is the first of a few cards that you're going to see were altered in that they just have the writing over top of them. That's because this was originally a Japanese card, and I kind of wanted new players to be able to play this. I didn't have an English Lightning Bolt, so Catherine was so gracious, she whited out the Japanese text and wrote English on top of it. So those are the alters for the Noob Cube. We have a Dragon Fodder. It's a card that sees a lot of play right now in Standard. Timor Battle Rage, it's a card that sees a lot of play in Limited currently. You're going to see that that's going to be a theme because I'm building with cards I have, and I currently have a lot of cards from recent blocks. We have Incinerate. So this is my only Incinerate, and this is back when I was trying to alter things, and this turned out like garbage, and I thought I threw it in the garbage, but I didn't. I found it, and now we're all stuck with it. We all have to live with the mistakes that I made. We also have a Roast. It's 1 in a red. Sorcery deals 5 damage to target creature without flying. And we have a Twin Bolt, deals 2 damage divided any way you choose. We have an Arc Trail, great burn spell for cubes. It's 1 in a red sorcery, and it deals 2 damage to target creature or player, and 1 damage to another target creature or player. We have basically Incinerate again. Madcap skills. If you played Gate Crash Limited, you know how absolutely insane Madcap skills were. Well, you know what? Madcap skills are back, and Madcap skills are gonna take down a cube draft one day. We have Fling, because I also have an Act of Treason, which you'll see shortly. Fling is 1 in a red, instant, sack a creature, and then Fling deals damage equal to the creature's power to target creature or player. Also good with Ball Lightning. Searing Blaze, 2 red, instant, deals 1 damage to target creature, or it deals 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to target creature that player controls, but it has landfall, so if a land entered the battlefield this turn, it deals 3 and 3. This might just be a sorcery, because there's no real instance or instant ways to put lands into play, or put lands into play during your opponent's turn, like fetches. So, I mean, we have Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse, but that's as far as it goes. Rift Bolt, 2 in red, sorcery, deals 3 damage, but you can suspend it for 1 red. We also have a Goblin Slide. It's kind of more of a joke. I don't think anybody's going to be able to play with this card, but there are token strategies, and red does have a couple token makers, so I thought that, you know what, maybe somebody will try to pull this off. We have Arc Lightning, Trumpet Blast, helping out aggro, attacking creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Also good with token strategies. Act of Treason we already talked about, and there's a couple effects that do Act of Treason-like things. Somebody from England sent me this card that they altered. Hordling Outburst. They're all I guess they're all having an outburst of some sort. But yeah, thanks, because now it's in the cube. It helps with the token strategies. It's also just a great card. Slag Storm is kind of red's board wipe currently. It deals 3 damage to all creatures, or it deals 3 damage to each player. We also have a Hammer of Perforos. 1 and 2 red, creatures you control have haste. 2 in a red, tap it, sack a land to put a 3/3 colorless golem enchantment artifact creature token into the battlefield. Slice and Dice, this classic old school cube card that was replaced by better things. Now finally gets a shot again at cube. 4 and 2 red sorcery, deals 4 damage to everything. To each creature. But it has cycling, and cycling's not counterable, because it means you pay 2 in a red and you discard it and you draw a card. But when you do cycle it, it deals 1 damage to each creature. So it messes with the token strategies a little bit. We also have Flame Javelin for 3 red. It deals 4 damage to a creature or player, or you could pay 2 instead of a red. Crater's Claw, another recent card, quite a good burn spell. It deals X damage to a creature or player, but if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it deals X+2. We also have the classic Fireball. We have a Devil's Play. It's a red and X, and it deals X damage to a creature or player, and then triple red X flashback. And we have a Star Storm. So Star Storm deals instant, and it deals X damage to each creature for double red and X, but it also has cycling, so if you don't end up wanting to wrath the board, maybe you're ahead, you could always cycle this. There's one more card. We also have this. This is a non-basic land, but it is a red card because you would never ever play this if you weren't playing red. It's a Hellion Crucible. It taps for colorless, or you can pay 1 in a red and tap it to put a pressure counter on the Hellion Crucible. Then you can pay 1 in a red, tap it, remove 2 pressure counters from it, sacrifice it to put a 4/4 red Hellion creature token with haste onto the battlefield. It's just this land that produces colorless mana, and then you can get a little bit out of it later on if you want. But that's everything. That's the cube. Thank you all for watching, and if you have any suggestions for red, please leave it down in the comments. Keep in mind, we're going super budget. Cards that are 25 cents or 50 cents are the type of cards I really want to hear about. Yeah, bye everyone.